Citations, gaming enthusiasts, George Maynard here. Even after finally getting exactly what they wanted with the Thousand Year Door remake, the Paper Mario fanbase is still a bit of a garbage fire. I should probably just leave Twitter again because I'm tired of discourse like this. So, recently Twitter has been somewhat ablaze with headcanon wars about Paper Mario, and whether that series of games are canon to the rest of the Mario franchise. This discussion has gone on before, and it's annoyed me every time, because I disagree with what seems to be the prevailing opinion of the loudest fans, and these fans seem very assured that their headcanon is correct, and people who disagree are wrong. Anyway, this time the discourse arose due to this post by the Pipe Plaza on Twitter, who made a post on this one brief interview question with Shigeru Miyamoto. Game Informer asked him, and I quote, "So there are multiple links, but is it always the same Mario?" To which Miyamoto responded, "Yes." By the way, I think this image of this quote of him just saying yes is incredibly funny on its own, and I think it should become a reaction image for people to respond positively to things. Though the Pipe Plaza went on to clarify that he meant there's only one Mario per continuity/universe, unlike Link where he is reincarnated multiple times into the same timeline, people had already taken this yes and ran with it. I personally think the idea of holding so tightly to a greater Mario headcanon is conceptually a very silly idea, as even the devs and writers of the franchise themselves don't care too much about it. Mario is definitely not the kind of series with much important lore or overarching story that would make the canon all that important. Most of the time you'll see Nintendo making whatever sort of Mario game they want, though they'll keep a more continuous canon between games of the same series usually. Most notably I think in the Mario and Luigi games, where the world feels very connected with frequent references to previous entries, with characters and species popping up in the ones that follow. Except for some specific instances within certain series, canon and continuity barely matters in the Mario games, aside from the basics of things like how the characters behave and the nature of the Mushroom World. But before I give my 2 cents on this topic, I want to be clear that I don't care if I'm wrong. This is my headcanon for the franchise, and I like to look at these games this way because it feels right to me. You can disagree with me if you want, and I won't mind. You can think I'm wrong if you want, and I won't mind. Just don't tell me that I am irrefutably wrong, or that my headcanon has no merit, because it does, and we should be respectful of each other's opinions because we're not toddlers. As existing viewers of the channel will know, my experience with the Paper Mario series began with Super Paper Mario, followed by Sticker Star. I really enjoyed both of these games, and because I played them before playing the original 2 games, they more represent what Paper Mario is to me than the classic 2 do. Especially with the emphasis on the paperiness of Sticker Star, the series always felt very removed from the rest of the franchise to me, and even way back then I already headcanoned them to take place in a different reality than that of the Flesh Mario games, so to speak. When Paper Jam came out, I immediately accepted its 2 worlds premise as it just confirmed what I already believed. I am of the opinion that the Paper Mario world being made of paper is a fascinating aspect of its world building and allows the games, especially the newer ones, to explore some extremely creative ideas that you'd never see in a Flesh Mario game. Sticker Stars finding crumpled parts of the environment and sticking them back where they belong, and inserting the otherworldly things into the world to solve puzzles. Color Splashes painting the world back to life. Origami King's intimidating legion of stationery that is straight up designed to mess with and disfigure the paper environment and characters, sometimes to the extent of body horror in a Mario game. Seriously, tell me how the paper mistake Buzzy Beetle would work in the Flesh Mario games. I dare you. All of these concepts enrich these games so much and really adds to my enjoyment of them. This inherent difference from the main games feels like a core strength of the Paper Mario series appeal, not something that should be moved away from or explained away to make it fit with the Flesh world. The world being made of paper makes for funny little visual gags at least, and gives the games a very compelling identity at most. At least, it does in my opinion. But a lot of people don't like the separation of Paper Mario from the main continuity, and would rather explain away the paper stuff as either only being there as a result of bizarre magic at play, like the cursing chests, or they say Paper Mario is simply a stylized retelling of Flesh Mario's adventures with some creative liberties taken. To me, this feels a bit like bending over backwards to specifically exclude the more papery aspects of the series, as fans of the original 3 games tend to have an intense hatred for the direction of the modern games because they replace the originality of characters, plot and settings with this new emphasis on paperiness. And while I do think people go too far with hating on the new games, I can definitely see where they're coming from. Nintendo took what was a beloved and well-crafted series and completely changed it, removing a lot of its existing charm and replaced it with mechanical and writing changes that were not only wildly different, but also largely disliked. And then Nintendo willfully ignored the backlash and continued doing what they wanted. I can understand why this would be frustrating for those people who didn't like the new direction the series took like I did. To me, Sticker Star is a fun, cozy little game that always makes me smile. To them, it's essentially Satan. So lots of people who prefer there be a single connected canon use this concept to distance themselves from the paperiness of the modern games, and even the few paper gimmicks of the first 3 games. This also helps people to strengthen the idea in their heads that the modern games don't have anything interesting to offer, by saying that the paper-based world they relied so heavily on was never really made of paper at all. Though another explanation for this mindset could simply be that people think the paper series being a separate entity devalues it and means things from those games can't appear in the main series. To that I say, Nintendo owns all of these Mario characters and will do whatever they want with them. There's Star Spirits in Mario Party 5, there's a Whacker in Mario Party 6, Bowser's Castle from Paper Mario 64 is in Mario Kart Super Circuit's Rainbow Road. If I took my headcanon all that seriously, then these might be flaws in my reasoning, but I just chalk it up to either these being the Flesh World versions of these characters, or just Nintendo doing what they want with their IP. Because as I said earlier, Nintendo doesn't care much about Mario's canon or continuity. Whatever your headcanon is, or your reasons for having it, you can always think of ways to continue justifying it. And that's okay, so long as you don't belittle others for having a differing headcanon. If these are your headcanons and it makes you more comfortable with these games, then more power to you. That's fine. All I really want to say with this video is that I personally prefer the worlds separate. It makes the series much more interesting that way in my eyes, and it makes a lot more sense to me. And the thought that this world is actually not made of paper is actually really outright gross to me. Like, my brain rejects the idea. In my mind, this world being made of paper is fascinating in a similar way to how the LEGO movies are with everything being made of plastic bricks. And I think shunning 50% of the series' title and premise like this is kinda silly. But hey, there's plenty of people who dislike my way of looking at this series just as much, if not more, than I dislike theirs. And I'm not here to try and change their minds. Arguing gets us nowhere but angry. So long as your headcanon isn't hurting anyone, go with it. Enjoy fictional media how you want to. As adults, not toddlers, we should all be able to respect each other's beliefs and headcanons. And in unimportant areas like this where there's no clear right answer, and honestly plenty of evidence for either headcanon, we should also be able to think someone else is wrong without being so rude as to say they are. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And until next time, farewell everyone.